Okay, so in this video, I want to talk about um, gaslighting and manipulating, but I also want to talk about what the lesson in that is for the person who's being gaslit and manipulated. Because, like we've talked about before in other videos, there's a reason why you are attracted to certain people in the first place. There's a reason why they behave towards you in specific ways. There's a reason why you're there. All of it is on purpose. It's to show you something. It's to show you something that needs to be healed. It's to show you something that you're too hyper focused, you're too attached to. It's to show you something. Okay, so we're going to be using hopefully specific examples if I can remember them because I didn't write them down, but I was thinking about them before I started this video. So whatever I remember is what I meant to remember. We'll just go down that route and see where we get. So the first thought that I want to share is there are two there are main focuses with people who are manipulators. One of the focuses is, can I get this person emotionally? And you're attracting that person who tries to manipulate you emotionally because a part of you resonates on that level. A part of you is too emotionally needy. A part of you needs to heal your emotional body. So you meet this person so that they can teach you certain lessons so you can heal that part of yourself. So emotional manipulation is going to look like complimenting you on things that they know that they're not attracted to, or they know that you might be insecure about. Like, let's say you mentioned, that you have an insecurity about something. They're gonna compliment you at first about it, or if they notice something that they don't like, they're gonna compliment you. So it'll be like a random compliment, but in your spirit, you're gonna feel like, was that really a compliment though? Like, it's not gonna feel good. It's not gonna feel like a compliment. We all know when we get genuine compliments from someone. You're walking down the street and somebody's like, that's a nice shirt, and you feel good. That's a genuine compliment. But then sometimes you get compliments, you're walking down the street and somebody's like, that's a nice shirt. And you feel it in your spirit that they're just saying that to make a joke out of you, or, to laugh about it later with their friend that they're walking with. Like, you just know the difference between a genuine compliment and one that is not genuine. So that is the first step that these people they're gonna do. They're gonna compliment you things. They're gonna compliment you on things that they think that you might be insecure about. Either you shared it with them, or they've observed that, oh, this person might be insecure about this, or this person might be insecure about that. And so, in order to protect yourself from that kind of stuff, you have to kind of let go of, like, they're bringing up the insecurity so that you can heal it. And this is why I'm so grateful for a lot of the people in my family, because they're always bringing up insecurities, like, oh, Rashida, you're gaining a little bit of weight, or you're doing this, or you look like this, or this and that. And sometimes it's a genuine compliment, sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's a criticism, sometimes it's a genuine compliment. Sometimes they try to be like slick and whatever about it, and you're kind of like, that wasn't a true compliment. And all of that is to prepare you. That's the purpose of your family. It's not to support you. It's not to support you in the way that we think. Oh, I can always call them and depend on them, and no. It's to teach you the lesson that you need to learn. It's to teach you detachment in every form, emotionally, physically, all of that kind of stuff. Removing attachment from certain belief systems and values, all of that. And we're going to get into that in a second. So So that's what the purpose of the people close to you is for. And instead of taking all that stuff personally, oh, well, my parents, because I went through that whole thing, I was constantly criticized. And it's because my family saw in me that I was too sensitive about certain things. And they knew that that was going to cause me to be manipulated down the line. So they figured, you know, let me do it to her first so that she's prepared later. And that, while it has good intentions, there is a more healthier way to go about doing that. It could just be a more direct talk, like, hey, Rashida, you're beautiful regardless of whatever, but when people see you, they're gonna see this, that, and this and that. They're gonna talk about your weight. They're gonna talk about this. They're gonna talk about that, and you need to be aware that that's the way that people manipulate you. So that type of conversation would have been better for me and better for them. That would have been more of a healing type of conversation, and it gives the same effect. So everybody wins in that situation. But criticizing your family members and your kids and whoever because you think that they're too sensitive and you want to protect them is not, it's jeopardizing your relationship with them. And I think that that's something that a lot of people don't realize. A lot of mentors, a lot of parents, it's something they don't realize. They think that they are benefiting their kids by criticizing them first or by telling them all the things that the world is going to tell them by making them live in the real world. Like, perfect example, I was in the store yesterday, and there was a woman in there with her daughter, and her daughter was like, she looked like she was probably in either middle school or high school. She looked like a teenager. Um, and the mom wanted to teach her responsibility, like, you need to pay for your own things or whatever, which is a good thing. But the way that she was going about doing it caused resentment in her daughter. Like, you could tell that her daughter resented her. Her daughter had a lot of anger towards her because of the way she did it. Bitch, didn't I tell you that I'm not paying for your stuff? Where your money at? What is the need for that? What what's the need for that? Yes, that's teaching your daughter to be independent, but it's also teaching her to hate you. It's also teaching her, and even further, even deeper than that, it's also teaching her to accept that kind of treatment from people. So when a man starts to talk to her like that now, she's going to think that that is normal because her mother, the person who loved her and wants the best for her, spoke to her that way. So she's going to think it's acceptable to be spoken to that way, and it's not. It's not. Because all she had to do was say, you know what, you're old enough now. I want you to start learning responsibility. So if you don't have the money, then we can't buy what's in the store. And that's it. Simple. You can't get something out of the store if you're not. And also, I'm realizing that there are levels. Like, you can't have that conversation with a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old. They're not going to get it because they're not ready to be independent. A teenager is going to understand that kind of conversation. A young child is not going to understand that conversation unless that's something that you've ingrained in them from when they were young to be independent. But you can't just come out of nowhere and decide, oh, you're depending too much on me. I've been letting you this whole time, and all of a sudden I'm going to stop because either it's starting to get annoying to me, or somebody mentioned it and they said I'm spoiling you and I don't want to look like a bad parent, or whatever reason. That's not I'm not gonna listen. Like I always say, guys, I am not here to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. I'm not telling you how to raise your children. I'm not telling you anything. I'm just letting you know that there are different perspectives to everything. There are different ways to look at everything. There are different ways to go about doing things. If your goal is to, one, produce an independent child who can now go out in the world and take care of themselves and protect themselves, and you want to build a loving and caring and two-way relationship with that child, where they feel safe enough to come to you and talk to you about things. They respect you. You guys don't have this tumultuous relationship. Then there's a way to go about doing things so that you can get that. If you're not getting one or the other, it's because you are not behaving in ways, you're not making choices that will lead to that. It's all about our choices. So that's why we can't play the victim when certain things happen. We have to realize, shoot, there's something that I did to cause this. Yes, there's something that other person did to cause it, but there's also something you did. That's why you guys are in that space together, because you're both doing something that needs to be looked at a little bit closely, a little bit more closely. Um, so we kind of got off track, but let's let's kind of reel it back in and talk about. So that's the emotional stuff, and I kind of got into family, but I feel like that was necessary. Um, and so that's the emotional stuff. So you got to kind of, if somebody brings it up in a relationship, do not react. Don't react, because that's what they want. That's what's going to pull you in. That's what's going to make them think that you want to play their game with them. Don't react. If he's yelling and screaming at you, or she's yelling and screaming at you and calling you all kinds of names out of your character, like all kinds of B's and all kinds of whatevers, sit there and let them talk until you can find a safe exit. Don't engage with them unless engaging with them. And if you, okay, not unless, and if you engage with them, understand that that is only going to lead to more dysfunction. That's only going to lead to a disastrous situation, because you engage with them now for whatever reason. You engaged with them because sometimes it's for ego. Oh, I'm not going to allow them to talk to me like that. Or I'm not this or that. How dare them call me this or that? Oh, I need to stand up for myself, or I need to whatever. I need to show them that that's not, true. That's not your position. Your position is to recognize the lesson, learn it, apply it. That's it. So that looks like, oh, you want to call me? Okay, that's fine. Now I'm just putting it in my brain. I'm making my little files. Oh, that's what you did? Okay, that's what you said? Okay, I'm just filing it. I'm not reacting. Another perfect example would be, I was teaching at a school one time. I was teaching kindergarten, and I think it was on open house, or like the second day of school. The parents were still allowed to come into the classroom with their kids and get them settled in. And so one parent came in, and the principal was doing her walkarounds. So she just so happened to be in my room with me. And I'm watching everything that's going on. I'm used to people misjudging me and thinking that I don't have a backbone and I just let people run all over me. But and I'm used to that, and that's okay with me, because I know the truth, and I don't need everybody else to know the truth. I don't need to be all, for what? You're going to realize the truth when you're in alignment with it. I don't need to make you be in alignment with it. You're going to recognize me when you become that person. So the fact that you think that I'm whatever, that's because you're vibrating on that frequency. So you're projecting that onto me. That's not my business. So anyway, I say all of that to say, the parent was like, basically, there was a whole bunch of context around it, but basically what she said was, they wanted a white teacher. Like, point blank period, asked the principal if their child could be moved to the white teacher's class, because there were two black teachers, two black kindergarten teachers, and one actually, she was Hispanic. And so the principal, thinking that she was sticking up for me because she has her own lessons that she needs to learn, um, trying to be everything for everybody, instead of realizing, like, so we were all there playing our parts. And because that's the way that I look at things now, it's all a movie, it all plays out. So I'm watching everybody play their part. And so she steps in and she's like, first of all, the other teacher is Hispanic. And then she kind of went into it like with her. And I just stood there like, There's no need for me to engage. I just kind of smiled and I was like, I mean, if you want her to be moved to the other, you can. I don't care. Like, I do not care. I have no attachment. I would love to have your child in my class. If you want to move them to the other teacher's classroom, go ahead. Go ahead if you feel like it's a better suit. You're here to protect the best interests of yourself and your child. That is none of my business. You want to move them, move them. So in a later conversation, that principal was like, she kind of threw it up in my face and was like, she brought it up in a meeting actually. And she was like, we were talking about issues that are going on and how we're working to fix certain things that are happening. And she brought up the situation, and all the other teachers were like, what? I can't believe a parent said that. Oh my gosh. And the principal actually said in the meeting, and Miss Wharton just sat there and she laughed. And I was still laughing in the meeting because I thought it was hilarious how everybody was taking it seriously, like how everybody was all animated and like crazy about it. And I'm like, it's not a big deal. And I was laughing. She was like, but it's not funny. And I was just looking at her like, but it is. Like, what? She expected me. And then to her, she's in this cycle of you have to assert yourself and you have to be verbally aggressive and have this outward like presence, when some people just understand, like, you walk into a room and people know what it is. You don't have to say anything. Your energy says everything that needs to be said. And so I could have handled that situation differently if she wasn't there. I would have just looked at the parent like, okay, well, you can go have a conversation with the principal, and or maybe I might have just looked at her and, depending, like I read the situation, I decide what decision and what action and what words need to be had in that situation. And so everybody can develop that. It's just, you have to be aware. It takes practice. You have to be aware first of what's going on and then be more in control of your reaction towards what's going on. Don't just fly off of the handle after everything that happens because there's nothing to prove. And for the people that are in alignment with you, you won't have to prove anything to them. And that kind of leads me to the next point that I want to make, which is probably going to be the biggest key for everybody, for myself included. If a person does, says, or acts in a way that you would not, and this requires you knowing yourself. If they say, do, or act in a way that you would not, like your personal self, this goes, like I said, you have to know what your values are, you have to know what you will and won't allow. And that also goes into being manipulated. If you don't know yourself and you don't know what standards you have and you don't know, what you want for your life, then you're going to allow any and everything in. And so if they don't align, then it is not correct. They are not for you. And then we can even go as far as to say, maybe they're trying to manipulate you. Yeah, okay, so the first sign is going to be they're going to do things that are against are the opposite of how you would do things. Perfect example would be giving fake compliments. Like little things that we think are just whatever. We think are just people being nice, or we think are just, oh, that's just that person's personality. No, we overlook it, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and we don't realize it until it's right in our face, when there were little pebbles along the way that we ignored. So something as small as that, something as small as like when they're on the date and they joke in a certain kind of way that you wouldn't joke, or they treat the staff members in a way that you wouldn't treat them, or they have conversation subject matter that doesn't align with what you want to talk about. All of these things are flags. I'm not going to say red ones, but they're flags that we should be paying attention to. That's a sign of misalignment. And because we want to accept people for who they are, we move forward with that kind of situation rather than realizing, okay, and it's fine. Like, just understand, if you're on a date with somebody and they're doing and saying things that are not in alignment with who you are, just understand that that person is a friend. And then you automatically in your brain put them in the friend zone, and then you move forward and you treat them like a friend until they disrespect those boundaries. And most likely at some point they're going to, um, because they're not supposed to be in your life. But if we keep on ignoring when it's time for somebody to go, that's when things get more and more destructive for us. um, so yeah, I'm just thinking about, like, reflecting on certain situations, making sure that it all stays where it's supposed to be. Um, I hope I didn't get too off track with this. I hope that I said what I think I did. I said what needed to be said. It wasn't what I had planned to say, but it's what needed to be said. Um, so let's kind of get into the other part of it. So let's say that you're emotionally strong, and this other person, they're testing you. They're looking to see where the open door is gonna be. And so if it's not emotionally, and they're like, okay, I can't get this person emotionally, let me see if I can get them financially. Let me see if I can, get to their pockets. Let me see if I can get them the other way. And so that's gonna look like, um, for a guy towards a woman who's just trying to use her for financial stability. People use you for emotional stability, and then they use you for financial stability. And sometimes they use the emotional to get the financial, or vice versa. They use the financial to get the emotional. But usually they're intertwined because our emotions reflect our pockets. Our mind reflects our emotions, which reflects our pockets. It's all working together. So, um, so financially, what it's gonna look like is he'll, in the beginning, talk about all of these things that he wants to do for you, all these places he wants to take you, all of this stuff. He'll love bomb you till the wheels fall off. Oh, I can't wait till you get here. I wanna take you to this restaurant, and oh, when I get my life together, I'm gonna buy you a house, and oh, let's get married at some point, whatever. And all of this is to feed you some fantasy of what is going to happen in the future, and they have no intentions of making it so. Or they do have intentions of making it so, but it's attached to something else. It's conditional. It's like, I'll provide these things for you if you prove to me that you are worthy. And the way that you prove to them that you're worthy is very specific to that person. It's whatever trauma that they have. For some men, it's, hmm, if you just give everything until you have nothing left, that's when they're happy. You just gotta turn on the faucet and just let it run. And we're talking emotionally, financially, all of that. The moment you start putting up boundaries, the moment you start saying no that's going to be an issue for them. It's going to be cut off. So we have men and women who are like that. And then we have the ones that just were never going to do any of that stuff, but they learned somewhere that, you know, just saying that I'm going to do it will get women. Like, that's enough for the women that they deal with. That's the level that they're on. It's enough to just give the fantasy. And so looking back on my life and all the stages that I've gone through with men, I would say that that's a very basic, like, men were doing that to me when we were teenagers, like promising all of these things and then never delivering, because you can't deliver as a teenager. Like, you don't have a job, you don't have any of that stuff. So you learn at that age that that works. And that works because, again, none of us have a job, none of us have done anything. But the more you experience the life, the more you go through things, you realize that that's not going to work. Don't talk about it, be about it. And then you start, as a woman, your thinking starts evolving, and then you realize he's doing all it is, but there's nothing. So a way to combat that is going to be, let him talk. Let him talk about all of the things, all the places you guys are going to go to, all the restaurants you're going to eat at, all of the houses you're going to buy, all the businesses you're going to build. Let him talk. But if there is no action, and I mean intentional actions, real actions that are clearly in the direction he's talking about, a trip, until he books that ticket and you guys are on the trip, do not believe it. And then what that also creates is, and some women, myself included, we kind of get into this because he'll also create this, or she, sometimes some women do this too. And what it is unhealed feminine energy. And like we talked about in other videos, feminine energy is within men and women. So there are men who do this and there are women who do this. But because I'm a woman, I'm speaking about it from when men do it, because that's who I date. So when he does it, or she, they also create this layer of, you want to, either they know that it's already in you, or they create like this thing of, you want to support them. You want it to be a give and take, and naturally you know that you have to give in order to receive. So it's going to create a situation where, I don't know if they do this intentionally or not, but it creates a situation where you see that, oh, months have passed, years have passed, and we still haven't gone on that trip that you were saying that we were going to go on. We still haven't visited that restaurant that you said we were going to visit. And it's been some time. So a couple of things are going to happen. Either you're emotionally dependent and you're going to think it's something that you did. Oh, maybe I didn't, maybe he doesn't know that I love him. Maybe I should show him a little bit more. Like, maybe I should do something to show him that I'm the one that deserves to be taken to these different places. I'm not showing him enough. Or it's going to be like with me, you're impatient and you force things, and you're a doer, and you want to make things happen, and you've done that in your whole life. So of course you're going to do that in a relationship with a man. So you buy the tickets for you guys to go. You pay for the food. Oh, because you're going to bring it up. You're going to be like, how come we haven't gone to this place? And he's going to say, because I don't have the money yet. I don't have, he's going to make whatever excuse he makes. And because you're a doer, because you want to make things happen, because you're a boss, you're going to make it happen. And when he's the one that should be making it happen, right? Or she's the one that should be making it happen. So, so that's how it works, guys. We just got to be aware of our patterns, of how our nature can be used against us. If you're a go-getter, you're a doer, you got to be aware of people who are looking for somebody to take care of them. And that's the key. That's the takeaway for me. That's why I'm getting all animated and excited. Because that's what it's been. That's been the cycle. I've been trying to like figure it out. Like, why do I keep meeting these guys that are children that need that depend on a woman and need her to take care of them? It's because of my energy. I'm a go-getter. I'm a not a nurturer. I'm a nurturer kind of. Um, but I'm a very like, okay, it's not that, let's make it, I'm a very like, I'll make it what I want it to be kind of person. And that works in some situations and it doesn't work in others. And then I'm realizing, just don't do it. If it's not exactly 100% what you want, even though you can shape it and create it and make it into what you want, what's the need for that? When it can just come, like it's one of those things of like, um, I worked with this lady one time and she was saying how weird it was that like you can order your groceries at Walmart and go pick them up rather than going grocery shopping yourself. And we were in that space together because we vibrated on that same frequency. But because I had healed a little bit more, I realized that like you don't have to, and even like the soft life era that a lot of women are participating in, you don't have to do everything. It served you at one point. It got you to where you are. But at some point, it's okay to let somebody do your grocery shopping for you. And just be open and accepting of the fact that they might make a mistake or two. It might not be exactly what you want it to be. It might not be perfect, but it's a whole lot better and a whole lot cheaper actually and a whole lot more efficient to just let somebody else do it. So just letting go and realizing that like you don't have to do everything. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to control everything. You don't have to be in charge all the time. And not being in charge actually, if you do it the correct way, where you're giving people, other people, the empowering other people to be in charge, and then it really benefits you. Like that's a real like boss mentality. Don't be at the job. Don't like you built a business. Don't be there every day. You might have employees or you might not, and you figure like you're the only one that can do it correctly. No, develop a system and teach your employees how to do it the way. If you feel like you have an efficient way to do it, develop a system and ask your employees for their input on that system. And then you get it to a point where it's running, it's efficient. You don't even have to be there. You could be laying on the beach in Tahiti and they're at the store doing everything that you would have done if you were there. You just have to be smarter about how to do things. Like, yeah, there are certain people that will take advantage. There's certain people that will run your business in the ground. But you have to be a leader. You have to have a mind state of one, understanding people, and two, understanding how to get them to give you what you want rather than getting it all yourself. Okay, so that's gonna be the next level for us.